Light as a feather, stiff as a board. Light as a feather, stiff as a board.
We are the weirdos, mister.
Black as night, erase death from our sight. White as light, mighty hectate make it right.
I myself am strange and unusual.
Cast a circle, spark an incense, and grab a cup of tea, because it's time for the Cousins Coven podcast. I'm Sharon.
And this is Wendy. Welcome back to the Coven, you guys.
Yay!
Still kind of weirded out because we're both in the same room together, but it's super cool, so.
It is. We're so not used to recording together, but today we have a wonderful setup. We've got our little Samhain altar going on, orange and black candles, crystals.
Yes,
incense.
So great. Pictures of some friends and family that have passed away.
Yeah.
Left a little offering.
Yes.
So we're really excited.
Yeah, I've got my big orange pumpkin candle, which is my Samhain candle, and then I see we've got the pillar candles. Are these from the Dollar Tree?
Yes.
Yes.
I went in and I was like, wait, they have full black pillar candles.
Yes.
I was like, I should have been stocking up.
I know. I think they really killed it this year. So they've got black candles. They have Day of the Dead candles,
Yes.
sugar skulls. So
yeah.
Really perfect for the Samhain vibes.
Yes. And did you see this great covering?
Oh.
I took some, what are these?
Scarves. Mm-hmm.
I took some scarves and then I just am using them on the table. So it's kind of like a...
And these are sugar skulls too,
Yes.
just to paint a picture. These are really lovely sugar skull.
I think I'm probably going to take a picture of this and post it.
Yeah, that'd be cute. So look for that on our Instagram, Facebook.
Yes.
But yeah, this is definitely our favorite time of year, and it's just so crazy we're finally together.
Yes.
So I know we're going to be doing all the fun
Samhain
things.
We're going to decorate an altar. We've invited actually family, friends, and other spirits to come to the table while we're recording today. So maybe you guys will hear something. You'll have to let us know.
Yes.
And I think we're going to do some Ouija, maybe Spirit Box.
Yeah.
Which we'll probably go into in a little bit. I'm really excited to talk about the Spirit Box. But...
Yeah. And you're being humble. When we started, Wendy already had a tapping after we invited people in. She had a little tap on the arm and the shoulders. So.
Yeah, just the arm and shoulder, and I was like, yes, they're here, let's start recording.
Yeah, so let's just dive in. So I know we really wanted to talk about Samhain. For anyone who might be a new listener who doesn't know, that is a pagan, Wiccan, witch, Celtic, I guess you could say, holiday. Very much like Day of the Dead, where we just honor our ancestors who've gone before, light a candle for them. We can even offer them a place at the dinner table, which I think is a really sweet notion.
Yeah.
I think you could do that with pets too, just offer a little bowl for pets.
Right, some treats, some little snacks.
Yeah, so really time to really honor the dead.
Kind of oh my gosh, I saw Coco this week for the first time.
Oh, such a good movie.
It was so amazing.
Did you cry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried not to, but then it just snuck right out, and I was like, okay, I guess this is happening now.
Yeah, that's a really sweet movie.
Yeah. And my kids are all trying to see if I'm crying at specific moments. They're like, nope, she's not crying yet. Nope. Oh, that got her.
I hate when people do that when I watch a movie, because I'm like, why? Why are you saying that? Then I'm prepared for something horrible to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of a sweet, good cry.
Yeah.
Coco.
Very cool. I liked how they had the altars out there, and that's kind of what we're doing today. We're starting our altar and getting it all ready for later. So
yeah, I think that it's okay to have your whole month maybe dedicated to that altar.
Absolutely.
And so now we're finally together. We can have our little shared space, so it's nice, and definitely felt energy as soon as we set out the crystals and the candles.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm into it.
A nice, good, deep breathing exercise. That's kind of how we were preparing for this episode, just doing a little breathing. I'm like, finally!
Together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that, some magic and stuff that you like to do on Samhain?
I think for Samhain, there's a lot of crone energy I always read about as far as the maid mother crone aspect. And the crone is really good for like helping you deal with the loss of loved ones. She kind of like symbolizes that it's okay. It's just a natural cycle for things to like die and move on. And that can be really helpful in life, and especially around like this time when we're putting our pictures of our loved ones out there. Like even just preparing for today and going through photos in the book, like it gets my tears going.
Right.
And getting them ready to put them up on the altar. Like it's sad, but like I think it's good to work with the crone to help you embrace change in life in general, going through hard things. So definitely Samhain's a good time for that. And I've always heard because the veil between the worlds is at its thinnest, it's a great time for divination, tarot cards, scrying, divining rods, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which we're going to use all of that. Oh, I felt a pinch on my arm.
Oh, that's so crazy. So they're already saying hi to you.
Yeah.
I guess that's just their way of giving you a sign that they're here.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I felt those kind of tappings for so long that...
Do you like just think it's normal, like every day?
I just think it's normal every day kind of thing. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's exciting in a way.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where like I'll just be sitting there and I'm like, is that a hair or did a spirit touch me? And it's just normal, and I'll keep looking and I'll keep looking. Because I know I told you this story like off podcast, but it was like I kept feeling in my old house, I kept feeling like this hair brushing against me feeling, and I was always looking to see, is that my hair dragging across me, or what is that? And I remember I asked a coworker, and they suggested that's probably your ghost cat, because one of my cats had passed away in that apartment. And then once I finally like opened up to that possibility, and I was like inviting my cat in that space and being like, hey, if you're here, can you let me know if you're here? I got all this energy from the cat. I felt like he was rubbing up all against me. And then my dog, who was laying next to me, ended up like turning around and barking and getting pissed, which she used to do to that cat all the time. They would like tease each other and she'd get mad. And so I just like felt like he was there, and it was so cool.
Oh, that's
so
such a good experience, and I'm glad that you're able to share it.
Ghost kitty!
Yeah. Gotta love that.
So it's so weird because for the longest time I was denying it, but I think once you open up to it and you don't look at it like a bad thing, you can have an experience.
Right. As we've talked about before, there's that whole conditioning thing. Like, I feel like we've been conditioned from a young age to look at it as a negative. If we could just break that cycle and people start teaching their children that it's not bad, then maybe we're going to be more open.
Yeah. I think spirit activity we should be more open to. Not always assuming it's the devil that we're talking to. Like, I think we can discern whether it's good energy or bad energy.
Right.
And we shouldn't be afraid of all types of energy.
Right.
And I think we should also kind of teach each other that, like, death is okay, as hard as that is. I'm not saying I have the answers for that, but...
Right.
If we were more open about it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Everybody's curious, I feel like. Well, maybe not everybody, but I'd say 90% of people are just curious about what happens when we die, and if we can be open to it, maybe we can tap into that.
There was one thing I forgot to mention, aside from just like honoring ancestors, something I heard this Samhain on YouTube actually from, I think her name's Her Speak Molly Roberts. It's a YouTube channel I like. She was talking about how for Samhain you can do more than just your family lineage or your ancestors. You could kind of open it up to like what identifying group you identify with or inspired by. So as a witch, you could maybe put different witches on your altar who had passed.
Cool.
And so I kind of thought about like someone even as like Scott Cunningham, who I think died in the 2000s. I loved his books, and he like what got me into Wicca and then witchcraft. So like maybe I should put a picture of him or just like just different witches, you know, throughout history.
Like I have his book right here in my closet.
Right?
Just bring it out.
Or like even figures like maybe like Joan of Arc, if you are resonating with her, or if you're an artist and you resonate with famous artists. Like I thought that was a really cool idea. What do you feel about that?
I think that's pretty awesome, because like even I printed out pictures of people I've never even met before to put them on my altar, or our altar.
Just for respects and things like that.
Yeah,
so I think that's kind of a cool way to open it up more and open yourself up to different energy in a sense.
Right.
Like if I could channel the energy of different witches or this or that, I think that's pretty nice.
Right.
So,
what do you think about this season makes it the time for the thinning of the veil? what do you think it is that, I mean, because the thinning of the veil has kind of been across the board. Like, it's not just a Wiccan thing. That's everywhere. Everywhere believes this. I mean,
I guess
not
it's
everywhere, but
like,
all religions usually.
I haven't read on it like recently, but I bet if there's Wiccan books that tell you exactly what it is. But if I remember correctly, isn't it something to do with like the alignment of like the stars? Because each equinox and event that we do in the pagan calendar is because of some alignment of the sun and the moon. So I feel like it's got to be some sort of an alignment time where those worlds somehow things are shifting and it's thinning. You know, so that's what I'm thinking it is. It's
I wonder what makes it exactly October 31st, because then I'm going to be like, okay, well, I need to look at where all the stars are aligned to see why it's that way.
Right.
What stars make it that significance, and how can it be everywhere if we're all looking at the same but different sky? So it's like, is it metaphorically the time, and since we've all put our thoughts into it, we've made it a reality that it's the thinning of the veil?
Right.
Or is this just, or should we just leave it
a mystery?
A mystery.
Yeah.
The magic behind it.
Yeah. It could be, you know, I feel like maybe if we Googled it, we'd find an exact scientific answer, but I don't think I have it per se. As a witch, I don't know if I've noticed the thinning. Do you feel like you've noticed it because you see spirits? Yeah,
I have actually felt a ramp up of it slowly since September, the beginning of September. So it's been ramping up. And now that we're getting closer, or now that it is the day, like I'm feeling even more and more energy. So I feel like that, if I compare it to years in the past, it's like a chunk of time. It's not just this specific day. For me, it starts in September and then slowly peters out after Thanksgiving.
I think that makes sense because like the whole Day of the Dead thing, I think it's supposed to be like the last week of October. It's like the first week of November.
Right.
This whole like period where different cultures are celebrating it.
So I feel like for me personally, that's, you know, a ramp up. Like my dreams get more intense. My, the activity that I see is more intense.
That's awesome. Is there anything this year that sticks out or last year as far as activity?
I can definitely say, like, I think since we did that synchronicity episode, like, I feel like I've had massive synchronicities. And those have been ramping up too. But there's been a few things. Like I went with my friend. She was coming up just past the year anniversary of her fiance passing away. So I went to meet her, and it's the second time that I've been to this specific cemetery, which it's out in the middle of nowhere outside of Dallas, Oregon.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like not halfway between Dallas and the coast, but maybe a good mile outside of Dallas. And the first time that I ever went there, I felt like I kept seeing shadow people. But this time when I met her, I feel like not only did I see the shadow people, but they were flashing lights in the trees. There were, I like felt energy rushing through me. I could see two different sides. I could see people from the cemetery who were trying to get my attention, but then there's this field next to the cemetery that's blocked off, like you can't even go out there. It's like somebody's private property next to the cemetery, and I could feel something old out there, and I really want us to dive into that at some point, because I don't know what it is, but it was flashing lights. It was it just felt old.
Is it trustworthy?
I don't know. Like when I tried to grasp onto it, I couldn't fully understand it. But then what was crazy is she brought her boyfriend with her new boyfriend, because, you know, sometimes you gotta move on. And he happened to be Native American, and he said, this is only the second time I've been here, but I swear I keep seeing something out in that field. And I was like, dude. And then he just explained everything that I saw and felt.
So you guys got to really match your stories up. That's awesome.
So it was pretty awesome.
it's so cool for you to actually meet someone else who sees things, because if I go with you, I would be surprised if I saw something, because I have not seen shadow figures or lights yet. But I would love to try to go like during this whole veil thinning time.
Yeah.
That way, maybe that's my chance.
Right.
To see something.
And if you're open. Usually I sit in the car for a little bit and get to meditating before I even step out of the vehicle to go into the cemetery. So
that sounds
would be
good.
really fun for us to kind of just sit in the space.
Yes, I'd love to bring an offering if it were appropriate, but I don't know if there's anywhere we could leave it or...
Yeah, I mean, I know one person who's buried there, so...
Okay, yeah. I'm so down.
Yeah, can't wait to do it. It's
Graveyards!
great. Yeah, gotta love that.
I definitely want to dive more into what we believe about the thinning of the veil, but it's just like... Sometimes I don't question it, I just take advantage of it. Like, I love busting out the Ouija, usually every October. And it's varying results of effectiveness. But I just kind of go in it with really positive light and attitude and only try to invite, like, good things in.
Right.
And sometimes I don't get the answers I'm looking for, the answers that I expect. But one tip I think I would say is it's kind of a good idea to maybe think of at least 5 or 10 questions to have beforehand.
Yes.
Or even write down the answers or record the session while you're going, because it can get kind of confusing.
Sometimes it's good to have at least 3 people there so that you have somebody else involved. Like, we used the Ouija, like,
Last week?
Yeah, last week. And it was not the typical kind of board. It was, what do they call it? Spirit circle or something like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things you got for your witchy birthday.
Yes. And so that was pretty cool that we got to do that. And we did have a small experience. So
yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not always what you're expecting, and sometimes like in those moments I felt like in that session I was kind of blanking on what to ask it.
Yeah, we didn't really prepare ahead of time, but with that specific board that I got, I was lucky enough it gave this really great detailed book. It tells you all the things that you need to do to prepare for it. And so they were saying that to prepare for you would not only meditate and things like that, but call on the corners, make sure you have a sacred space around you.
Which is what we should do for our actual legal Samhain thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, they said, make sure to have your questions written out. And they thought no more than 2 per person.
Dang. Which is good, but, like, that's so much work for 2 damn questions.
Right. And they said, you know, be prepared to spend sometimes hours using the Ouija in order to get experiences.
I felt that way, like how I mentioned last time we talked about this. It took me, I think, a couple hours before my grandparent came through.
Right.
And I was getting a lot of nonsense leading up to it. Like, I kept getting the feeling of talking to aliens, which I don't even know if that's real.
Yeah, I don't know. I've heard it could be tricksters, but... Yeah. I feel like I haven't had that experience through a board, so I'm not sure. Right.
I don't know what it was. I think that's what people get so scared about. They're like, you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But I feel like you really shouldn't be so afraid of everything you don't understand. Like, to me, religion is something that I don't even try to quantify. Like, gods, goddesses, spirit guides. Like, who am I to say I know how any of that works?
Sure.
Or the other side. But I'm totally open to feeling and experiencing and using my intuition. So I feel like with seances, like, it's not something we should fear. Or maybe I'm just being naive.
No, I don't think so. But that's just my personal opinion.
So many people are like, you're not being careful.
But I really think it depends on your background and what's been conditioned in you. If you would have asked me this when I was younger, yes, it's a bad idea because I'm sure there's something negative. But now that my mind is more open.
Dude, I was looking up haunted places in Oregon now that I'm back. And I realized that I had been to this place. I think it's McMinnville, this hotel there.
Yeah, I've been there. I did a tour behind the scenes.
I didn't do a tour. I stayed the night, and it was the first Ouija board thing I ever did. We made one out of paper.
I've done that before.
And we just were two little girls, like, slumber partying it up. And I remember, like, it told us to, like, go outside, and, like, I opened the door, and the only thing that happened were, like, 2 just adults walked by, and I was like, this is it! The spirits are so smart! And I was like, what? That's just a synchronicity. Like, that's nothing paranormal about 2 adults walking by.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, but now, what we use the spirit box this week, tell me what you thought about that.
So Spirit Box, I guess, if you're not familiar, that's like a little radio box that reads the frequencies, and it goes by really fast, but it's supposed to be if it's a ghost, if it's saying like a long sentence or a couple words.
A long sentence or a couple words, and then also it may be the same voice. It may not even be a voice that
is on the radio. Yeah, so when we were using it, I was just trying so hard to interpret the words itself. I couldn't make a difference between if it's a radio or an actual spirit. I need training. So it was hard for me to pick up. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, it was too fast. Oh, it was too fast. It goes really fast.
It does go really fast.
So that for my first time trying it, I think I missed a handful of things that were probably a word. But I don't know. How often do you feel like a ghost communicates through that?
Well, it's me that we're talking about, so I feel like it might be different. But I've read, I've been studying up on it because I just got this spirit box. And I've used spirit boxes in the past, but I've never had my own. So I wanted to know what other people were saying. And so I did some research into it, and people were saying you should use it every day. Sometimes you're going to get something, sometimes you're not. It may be somebody you know, it may be somebody you don't know. And you have to try to differentiate between what is there. You may be even picking up energy that was there before you were even in that space.
I think that we did get our names.
We did get our names,
So that's where I feel like that's kind of more intelligible. If I can get them to say, hi, Sharon.
Right.
Hi, Wendy.
Right. Or something.
Or when you're asking a question.
That they respond.
Yeah.
So we went, I'm calling it Hellier style.
Yes.
Because that's basically what we did. So for those of you who don't know this, you should definitely look it up. But there's this thing on YouTube. It's like a mini series almost.
Yeah, like a little docu-series.
Yeah, it's Hellier. And they did a spirit box session in there where they covered the eyes and took out all of the extra sensory stuff, so you're just listening. So one person has headphones on with their eyes covered or closed. I think we did it and I just closed my eyes. And then you pick up on everything and you're just listening to that, and the other person is taking or asking questions.
So when it actually matches up, it's unbiased.
Right. Exactly. So you have to have good noise canceling headphones, which I felt like we did. I couldn't hear anything that you were saying when you were talking. So,
and I think there were times when it was matching up, but we weren't recording it.
I know.
We didn't write it down, and it is so much going on that I can't remember what they responded to.
Sure.
But I think you were getting taps at that spirit box session. It sounded like things were telling us they were there. We got a few names. So the spirit box, I think it's a lot of fun. I definitely want to keep messing with that because
heck yeah,
it's a little bit quicker. It's like as technology goes, maybe our communication with spirits will grow.
Right.
Because the Ouija board is like using dial-up.
Right.
And then this is kind of like getting Wi-Fi.
Yeah. This is like a good step up. So. And we have other things that we can use in conjunction with the spirit box. So I feel like this is definitely a good thing to use during this thinning of the veil, because maybe we'll get some more activity.
Yes, I do have dowsing rods, which I want to get better at using, and I try to test them because I want to make sure it's not just moving all willy-nilly. Like I want it to be intelligible, so I definitely want to use those together. Yeah. Which we haven't done together yet. And I love scrying.
Yes, me too. I remember my first scrying board that I ever made. I didn't even really know that's what I was doing, but I had gotten a scrying stone, and it was just something I'd seen on TV, so I might as well try it out. And with Crown, I drew it on cardboard, just all the letters, and then just was using.
That's so cool. Scrying. I didn't know about that as a kid.
I wasn't a child, but I did it as an adult when I was really starting to delve in to what everything could possibly be. I've
definitely done hand-drawn ones. Sometimes I'll just try to do yes, no, but if I want more information, I'm going to try to give myself, like for pendulum swinging, just to clarify, like I'll just try to give myself like a little circle pie chart, whatever I want to write in the pie chart, whether it be numbers or this or that, I'll try to get little answers that way.
Kind of cool. I know I've used the actual Ouija board now as an adult. I haven't tried that other circular board, so
Mm-hmm.
It'd be real interesting. I also sometimes do meditating to try to connect, but
I think that that's honestly one of the most valid ways you could do it. I'm starting to realize, because just like with that whole ghost cat thing, I was closing myself off to all those touches for like probably a couple of years.
Right.
And in a second, I quieted my mind. All my stuff was in boxes, getting ready to pack and move. So I didn't have access to my toys. I didn't have my dowsing rod. I didn't have my scrying thing. I didn't have my Ouija board. I had to just shut up and listen and feel the energy. And when I did that, I actually got responses back.
Right. It's
so
just opening up. It's just like cell phones. Like sometimes social media, it takes a bit out of our life, and we don't know why we allow that to happen, but it's kind of clouding our judgment on what we should be looking at instead. It's the same kind of thing. So when you're meditating, you're shutting off all those distractions.
Yeah.
And your veil is thinning.
True. And your kind of consciousness is opening up.
Right.
And probably meeting that veil somewhere halfway through. To where when we're just rushing around and living our lives, we're not going to sense a grandparent in the room or a cat in the room.
Right. Unless you're extremely sensitive.
Yeah, which some of us, I feel like my intuition with that stuff comes in wanes, like waxes, wanes, whatever, ebbs and flows. So I love it when it's like super on point all the time.
Right, right. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way, so yeah.
But yeah, so when you meditate to connect with spirits, what is your process?
So I try to go somewhere quiet. Usually when I meditate, I do like to listen to music. I feel like I've said that before. So sometimes I'll do that. Sometimes I just sit in complete silence. I like to do it when nobody else is in my space.
Yeah.
And unless I'm specifically meditating with somebody else. And then I just kind of release it. Like, I've had to work really hard at getting that way, because sometimes, like, I've always had a noisy mind. And sometimes it's not my noise, it's other people's noise. Like, I've got a radio in my head, and sometimes I can hear other frequencies.
That's crazy.
So I have to quiet that stuff down and release all that stuff and shut it all down, and then just get into this one sweet spot where I'm not thinking of anything else. And then in that state of mind, then I can start finding out where those frequencies are coming from.
Yeah.
And hear what they're actually saying.
Yeah.
But it takes a while to get there. So like when I meet with a client who wants a tarot reading, since I don't read tarot the way that everybody else reads tarot, I have to quiet my mind so I can grab what their spirit guide's trying to tell my spirit guide.
I love that.
Yeah.
I wish I could just tune into that all the time.
Maybe. I just don't. I feel like I've been reading tarot for so many years, and I've never actually really known how to read tarot. I just know how to read spirits. So they're who are talking to me, really. It's not the cards. Those are just what is that called? Like a conduit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like a little tool almost.
Yeah. And a crutch. I've noticed that in the past they were kind of a crutch for me. Like something for me to lean on when I felt like I was too, like, because I was conditioned in my mind to think that I was crazy, that I was doing these things.
Yeah, because I mean, I still feel that way when I'm having moments with Ghost Cat. I'm like, are you just hyping yourself up right now to feel this energy? And, but then you get confirmations like the dog acting funny or things like that. But it's hard not to doubt yourself. But once you get past that step, I think that's a big key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of dog thing, I gotta tell you this thing that happened with my dog this week.
Yeah.
So she, I don't even remember what I was doing. I think I was folding clothes. Really mundane activity. And she jumped up on the bed and faced towards the wall and was just sitting there moving her head up and down like she was watching something. And then I was like, what are you looking at? And she turned around and she looked at me like I caught her doing something. And then she just acted like nothing happened. Yeah.
What?
So I don't know what she was looking at. I went over there to inspect the wall. What if it was a bug? What if there was a spider? Yeah. Nothing. So I don't know what she was looking at.
Did she ever act guilty like that?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes.
Hmm.
But it was just weird. I was like, who were you talking to?
Yeah. If anyone could find out, it'd be you. I feel like.
Yeah. One of these days we'll tap into that.
Doggy seance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to switch gears, you guys, and kind of talk about something that was near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah.
Crones. A couple of crones that we found that we wanted to discuss. Did you want to take it?
Sure.
Right here?
So I'll go with my little crones. So like we were talking about earlier, Samhain, crone energy, and there's a lot of good crone folklore. I found the Baba Yaga kind of like caught my attention. So she's Russian, I guess Slavic. There's a lot of different names she has. Like I think in other places she's like Baba Rogba, like just different variations. But she's an old lady crone, and they're never really kind with her description. It's usually really ugly, emaciated sometimes, big crooked nose, and her teeth are like crazy sharp, usually described as like steel shards or iron shards. And she uses those to eat children and lost people in the woods. So she's got a really creepy, like cannibalistic vibe to her. And then Baba, I looked up, it actually, you could translate it to be like mother, grandmother, or even mean old woman. And Yaga could be translated with Slavic, I guess, language into witch, wicked forest spirit, or like evil fury. So there's a lot of cool like symbolisms of her being like the old wise woman. And I guess kind of just like with every witch in history, you could either look at her as evil or she's good and helpful. So she goes kind of both ways. Some interpretations have her depicted as the devil's grandmother herself.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those pictures.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. I feel like I saw one on Instagram or something, and she had this like scarf wrapped around her head.
Oh,
and,
cute.
Yeah, it just looked all witchy. I don't know if that's...
I'm sure you did. I found out she's like a lot of times with Hellboy in the Hellboy comics. So that kind of makes sense because he's a little demon.
Yeah.
Um,
Come here, Sonny.
yes. And I remember fighting her in one of these new Tomb Raider games. And this is like one of her weird traits is that you can see her flying on her mortar. I guess it's called mortar. And she uses the little pestle thing to like kind of use as a rudder to get through the air. And so she's flying in like a cauldron type thing.
Old Mother Hubbard.
Is that the same?
No, not Old Mother Hubbard. Mother Goose, something like that.
So she uses that, and then she'll keep like her little broom, and so if she has like a little trail of smoke maybe behind her, she'll get the broom and sweep away so her enemies can't find her. So she's like a little badass little witch. And one of the big characteristics of Baba Yaga, like folklore, is that she has this hut. You probably have heard of it. It's the hut. It has no windows, no visible door, and then it's on 2 chicken legs. And so these chicken legs can walk about the forest, and she's kind of always able to just go wherever. She's got her little tiny house. But wherever she resides, you'll see a fence made out of like bones, out of the humans that she's consumed.
Oh my gosh.
And out of the fence posts are skulls. And so in one fairy tale interpretation, she did help a little girl by giving her one of those skulls as a light to go through the forest and just things like that. So there's like a little rhyme you could say to try to get the door to reveal itself to you, which is to say, turn your back to the forest, your front to me. And then the door, you could see it and go in there. And so it's kind of like a test. Do you want to try to get the Baba Yaga to help you? You kind of have to be on her good side by not being bad to the forest animals. Show respect to nature and to animals. Don't ask Baba Yaga too many questions or she'll get annoyed and eat you. So it's kind
like
of...
a mother.
It's a roll of the dice. Like, do you risk the Baba Yaga? So she's seen like helping some heroes by giving them advice. And then other times she'll give you a task that's kind of difficult and you have to complete that. And if you do that, she'll help you. Other times she'll eat you either way.
Wow.
So she's kind of like this trickster energy that might just be more in it for her selfish interests. So I don't know if you would even dare trust the Baba Yaga, but she kind of sounds cool.
She does.
As a kid, I'd be too afraid.
Yeah.
Definitely was afraid of witch houses as a kid. I don't know. You seem like the type who would go trust her.
I feel like I had a Baba Yaga that lived in our neighborhood as a child.
Probably. I feel like that's one of those things that, like, it's a fairy tale to get kids to behave.
Yeah.
Like, behave, or that old lady across the street is going to eat you.
That's right.
Like, all the old lady are the Baba Yaga. And
Yeah.
so you kind of just say it to your kids to get them to behave.
So like Hansel and Gretel and that witch in there.
Yeah.
Get in my oven.
Yeah. And
Get
so
you naughty little child.
Exactly. It's always this crone aspect.
Yeah.
She's also tied to the maid mother crone, and some Baba Yaga stories have like where it's 3 of them, and they're all sisters, and they all have their own hut and own like personalities. One might be nicer than the other. So I love the idea of 3 of them.
Yeah,
That'd
that's
be
awesome.
super cute.
Oh my gosh, that just reminds me of another good show.
What?
Because think about Hocus Pocus, those 3 little witches. Which one of them would be Baba Yaga?
Right? That'd be really cute. Ugh. I need to learn more Baba Yaga stories, because there's a couple of famous ones, but I didn't get to dive too deep into them. But that would be really cute. I like the idea of just 3 witch sisters all the time. Like charms, all those kind of things. They can supposedly control the weather, and they have like henchmen that work for them too.
Sweet.
So there's like these 3 horsemen that will go in the woods. There's a white, black, and a red, and they represent like the sun, night, and the moon.
Okay.
And so she'll send them on errands, and so those are some of the people you'd want to respect. Like, if you disrespect those horsemen, I don't think she would help you.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of just maybe a morality tale about respecting your elders.
Right. Right.
But yeah,
minding your own business, or
Exactly.
minding your adults. That's what I mean.
Anything else worth sharing? Oh, so I did find out that the Baba Yaga house, Yagba house, is based off of an old Salvic tradition to basically hunters would make houses on stilts to keep all of the food supplies away from like bears and things like that.
Yeah.
And then even further back, you go back to like pagans, and they would make mini versions, like tiny houses on stilts, and they'd go up there and they'd worship, and then all their like god figurines would be in these little houses.
Oh.
I thought that was so cool. So it was like a secret worshiping space where there wasn't any doors or windows on the outside, but just a trap door that you'd climb up.
So like no distractions.
I was wondering if they had to do that to hide in secrecy, or if that was just a sacred wooden
I bet it could be
place.
either way. Either way. I mean, it's the same thing with temples. People build temples out of stone in Asia, right? And then they would have to go in there to do their
little magics.
Yeah.
It's like shaman kind of. Yeah. So that was cool that it kind of does all come back to pagan roots in a sense.
Sure.
So I like this tradition.
I like it.
Yeah.
Man, I want my little house on stilts.
Yes! It kind of sounds nice.
It's like a tree house.
And have the kids fear you with respect.
Yeah.
You know? Have them in line.
That's right.
Yeah.
I could never get kids to listen to me that way.
Yeah, you'd have to eat a few.
Yeah.
To really make an
To be
example.
like, oh, I can control my dog, but I can't control you, your child.
Yeah. Seriously, I don't know how to control children. So, what witch did you decide to look into?
Okay, so I have Caradwen, which I was really excited to do this one because she's a Welsh crone goddess, and my ancestry on my mom's side, I found out after doing one of those DNA tests, is that I'm part Welsh.
Oh, cool.
And so I was like, yeah, no wonder why I've been excited about that whole part of the country.
Right? It's calling you.
Yeah, I'm like, I need to go home. I even married a man with the same last name as something that could be Welsh.
Right? Yeah.
I need to go there. So, anyway, so I found out about her. And depending on which story you're hearing, she could be young, she could be middle-aged childbearing, and she could be old. But basically, she really was known for her sorcery and using her magic cauldron, that she had this amazing large magic cauldron that she would do all these great things, and people would come to her. And
Nice.
but the one story that I found, it's this folk tale that you can find pretty much anywhere that I really love. But apparently it says that she had 2 children, and one of them was extremely beautiful. It's her daughter. She's just this most beautiful. And then she had this son who was the ugliest boy you've ever seen in your life.
Aww.
And she felt sorry for him because of his looks. And she was like, when he grows up, how is he going to be able to take care of himself? Because she was basing the fact that he wasn't going to be anything if he couldn't be attractive enough for somebody to marry him or trust him. And when you were ugly, apparently they thought.
That's so horrible.
I know.
I'm like, where's this going?
Right. So she said, maybe I'm going to do something special for him in my cauldron. And she decided to make this potion that would imbue massive amounts of wisdom and knowledge that would grant him all the knowledge of the world. And so, or I shouldn't say world, I think it was more like all the knowledge of the universe. And so she put in 3 drops of this special potent potion that would imbue the wisdom. And then the rest of the stuff in the cauldron was poisonous stuff. And she had to let that boil and cook for a year and 1 day. And she got really tired. She has all these other things that she has to do. So she hired this boy in town, and his name was Guion Bach. And he would come daily to stir the pot. And one day he was stirring the pot, and some of the poisonous liquid got onto his thumb. And as a knee-jerk reaction, he put his thumb in his mouth, because that's what you do. And then all of a sudden, he was imbued with all of the knowledge of the world and universe.
Dang.
And Caradwyn, she came in, and she just knew, because she too has all the knowledge of the universe. So she looked at him, and she knew in that instant that he had the knowledge. And she started to get angry, and she was like, that was meant for my son. How could you have done this? How could you be so careless? How could you be so reckless? And so she went to run towards him, and he decided that he was going to run from her. He was super scared. He was like, I don't know what's going to happen to me when she catches me. And so he decided when he was out in the field that he understood that he could shapeshift now.
Nice.
He understood how to do that. So in one instance, he just turned into a rabbit, and then he started trying to run from her, and she was like, you know what? I also know how to shapeshift. And she turned into a greyhound and started chasing him. And he was like, she cannot outsmart me. He decided to jump into the river and turn into a fish. And she's like, oh, heck no. She jumps right in, and she turns into an otter. And then he was like, no, you can't catch me. So he jumps his little fish body into the air, and he turns into a bird, and he flies off. And she's like, that's not going to stop me. She too jumps up into the air and turns into a hawk to try to catch him. And he flies over a field, this, whatever his name was, I forget already, I apologize. And drops into a field, in the middle of a field, and turns into a grain of corn, thinking that she will never find him. She drops to the ground, turns into a hen, and devours the corn.
Oh, dang.
The thing about the potion is, it not only gave him great knowledge, but it also made him invincible.
Okay.
So she goes home, and she's going about her day, and she finds out that she's pregnant. And she knows that it's because she ate that corn, and now he is inside her stomach, growing in there. And she's just fuming. She's like, how could he trick me this way? I'm so mad at him. She's like, when this child is born, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to just murder this child, which sounds horrible. I know, I apologize for saying that, but that's part of the Samhain charm. Gotta have some scary stuff.
Right.
So the baby is born, and she sees it, and it's the most beautiful child she's ever seen in her whole entire life. It's just so beautiful. She was like, how can I kill this child? It's just charming me. It's so beautiful. So she decides what she's going to do is she takes this leather, and she sews the baby into this leather bag, sews it completely shut, and throws him into the ocean.
Oh my God.
But he's invincible. He just floats right up to the top of the water. This little baby floats up to the top of the water, and then floats to the shore, where a prince finds him and gives him the most fabulous life that you could ever think of.
Adopted by the prince.
Adopted by the prince.
Nice.
Yeah.
So he had to really start over.
Right.
So
he had to
he went
really
back
start
to
over.
infancy.
It reminded me of reincarnation. Like, maybe he did die, but his spirit didn't die. So he's forever immortal.
It's an interesting story, and it really made me think like the Sword in the Stone Disney movie. They kind of stole something from that, because I remember that scene where Merlin is fighting that other witch, and they keep turning into like better animals until they start turning into diseases to get each other.
What about that?
I love that movie, and it really made me think of that. Like, what a good chase sequence between all their transformations.
Right. And what was cool about that story is, I guess it was from like the 4th century from over there. So
was there some sort of moral we're supposed to learn from this?
I guess it had something to do with the shape-shifting part. The moral was that when in any situation that you are in, you can transform yourself into whatever you need to be to get through that situation.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty scary gig. Like, hey, your boss will kill you if you get a drop of this on you.
Right.
And taste it.
Yeah. Don't do bad stuff.
Yeah. And so she's a goddess. I feel like I've heard of her too as a goddess.
Sure. It's just funny too. I was like, man, she was down to do this 1 year and 1 day potion. That's a lot of work. Like to work on it every day for a year.
A year and a day is like that witch trial where they say, like, if you're a witch, an initiation, you have to study for a year and a day before you can call yourself a witch.
Gotcha.
So I remember, like, reading the Wiccan books and thinking, okay, I can't be a witch till I'm done with a year and a day.
Gotcha.
But, like, I didn't really listen to it 100%. I was like, no one's going to tell me that I'm not a witch. It's been 3 months, I'm fine.
Yeah,
like,
I'm good.
I'm good. But I don't know, maybe that's something that, like, a lot of people have taken seriously is the year and a day.
Right.
So
I also liked the fact that he couldn't drown, that he was not able to drown. And then that made me think of several things. It reminded me of something that happened to me last week when I was at our other cousin's and I was in the hot tub. Like, I got in and then immediately I just floated to the top. I could not sit down. I had to hold on to the sides to anchor myself.
You're so buoyant.
Yeah, but then I was like, no, I'm not buoyant. It's just like in that book that we read with Practical Magic, the prequel.
The witches
can't sink.
That's hilarious. That's so true. That happened to me in the Bahamas.
See?
I was going scuba diving where it's like this hybrid of you're not certified.
Oh, right.
You can have like a tank above you that floats and you have the oxygen, but you can only go so far. But they put one thing around my waist to like weight me down, and I was just staying at the top.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, so they weighted me down. We talked about that last
on
week?
podcast.
Dang! How did this come up twice in a row? Guys,
it means something.
It really means something that we can't see. We're witches.
We're just witches. And then I had that incident that happened, so I feel like totally. Have you guys had that happen to you?
Can you guys sink? Like, although I feel like I've almost drowned like twice.
Oh, I know I've almost drowned before. That's why I'm terrified of water. But then...
But we love water.
But I love water at the same time. I'm a fish, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 crones that, like, again, it sounds like she's like Baba Yaga. Like, she wants to help this kid by making him smart. Is this to overcompensate for his ugliness?
Yeah. She just wanted him to have a good life and didn't think that he could get by on his looks, so...
Yeah.
Gotta give him some knowledge.
Which works. I totally love smart people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. A little nerdy. That's my hype.
Totally. Smart guy who can explain things. Perfect.
What? I never have to touch this ever again and you're going to do it for me? Thanks.
But she will kill a kid if she messes it up. Yeah. Which is really irresponsible. Like, you're the one who hired him.
Right.
If it's such hard work.
Right. And then I guess on top of him being with the prince father, he turned into one of the famous poets of the time, which, let me see his name. I'm so sorry. His name was Bard of Taliesin. I'm never going to be able to pronounce that.
He's a bard.
Yeah, which is a poet.
Right, like a singing poet.
So...
Interesting.
He lived in a beautiful Welsh countryside, and
so he wasn't really royalty, but he had a good bard life, which sounds fun.
Yeah,
better than having responsibilities.
Yeah,
of a prince. Well, one thing about the story that gets me is like, okay, it sounds like he only had a drop.
Yeah, just a drop on his thumb.
So,
well, I think it was 3 drops actually in the story. It was just 3 drops.
Well, there wasn't enough for the other kid. somehow. And this, that's just
he
that
took
ruins
all
it.
3 drops of the knowledge on his thumb.
Okay.
Because she put in 3 drops of knowledge.
Oh, okay.
He got 3 drops
Exactly
of knowledge.
those drops of knowledge.
Burned his skin. He's like, ah. He was just a child to begin with, I think. She just hired this kid.
Yeah, maybe she shouldn't have been so lazy. But I'm sure it would have hurt her back.
Yeah.
All that stirring.
Just over the cauldron. I want to know what this cauldron looked like. Like, from what I was understanding, that people would come to her to do all sorts of spells. And that she was the sorceress of
like
the
a
town.
village witch almost. Yeah, Baba Yaga sounds kind of the same, more of like a forest one though. So
I wonder if all of the Crones are this way. That everybody just comes to that specific one.
Yeah. Every region has a story of an old wise woman.
Right.
So it's this ancient tradition, I guess.
That's where we're headed.
That's where we're headed. That's what we have to look forward to. We can be old and wise.
Yeah.
And know that our death is soon, but we're fine with
That's
it.
right.
It's part of life.
It's all good. I took that dose of immortality, so I just keep reliving.
Exactly. So,
Good times.
Hopefully you guys enjoy your Halloween season and your
Yes.
crone energy.
I would really like you guys to write to us and tell us what you did. And if you're up for it, we can share it on podcasts.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about it on the next episode, probably talk about everything that we do tonight. So
That's true. All of our divination, as
Yeah.
far as like ghost hunting, if we have fun things we want to say,
yeah.
graveyard experiences we will share. So if you guys have ever had any ghost experiences, seance experiences, just hit us up.
Yeah, we would love to hear from you.
I feel like we're thirsty for that.
Yeah, I like it. And I know we have a bunch of new listeners. I just want to give you guys a shout out. I'm very thankful for you. I know we have a new group of people who started listening to us in Spain.
Awesome.
So, hi guys.
Hi, Spain.
And I think we had a few new listeners in England, and just foreign countries are starting to finally catch on to us. So I'm really excited that we're not just in America now. So
yeah.
Whoop whoop, that's the modern internet has got us everywhere. So
Yeah, I never know how our listeners find us, but it's amazing. I feel like the right people find us.
Exactly. Yeah. I keep trying to put us on new sites, so I'm just like, hey, I'm popping in this RSS code. Now you can hear us.
Yeah, it's just been over a year, so we're growing, guys, and we love hearing from you as always. So thank you for listening, and make sure to join us next Wednesday for another new episode. In the meantime, find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Cousins Coven, and check out our blog at cousinscoven.home.blog, where you can find wishy words of wisdom, spells, and all of our archived podcast episodes from season 1. We put a lot of work into those episodes, so go back and listen to them if you haven't. You can email us at cousinscoven2@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you guys, so please like, subscribe, and share with all of your witchy and weirdo friends.
Woohoo! And may you guys find happiness in your heart, love for yourself, and joy in each other. Blessings to all.